Hey howdy, it's Gray. Welcome back, or if you're new, welcome to my channel. Now today will be the start of a brand new series, one where I'll be doing little video essays about some of my hyperfixations and fandoms that I've been a part of. First up on that docket is Undertale. Now before I get into this all, if you haven't played it yet, do that before this. The game is so much better going into it blind. Undertale was a game released on September 15th, 2015, so keep an eye out for that week in September because I will be doing a playthrough of it for its 10th anniversary. The game is made by indie developer Toby Fox and artist Temmie Chang, which most of us already knew. Toby also did a lot of the soundtrack work, which you'll hear some of my personal favorites throughout this. The game, in a way, is a choose-your-own-adventure, following three main paths: the pacifist, neutral, and genocide routes, each name making it very obvious your choices throughout it. Pacifist, you don't kill anyone; neutral, you kill maybe a handful of the monsters within the underground; and genocide, you kill them all. Overview over, time to talk about why this game is so big to me and many others. I played the game for the first time off a recommendation of a friend in early October of 2015, and my first playthrough of it was kind of accidentally pacifist. I just didn't want to hurt any of the monsters. I can't even pick the rude dialogue options against characters I don't like. I had a heads up from a friend that I could spare Toriel, and honestly, big up to him because I would have been devastated if I figured that out after. So it was just such a beautiful way to go into the game. Everything was great. The story was beautiful, the music really added to the emotion of it all, and it was just catchy stuff that I still listen to this day. Now, the fans found all the secrets in the code pretty quickly after the game was released, so we really had not a lot to go on other than memes for a bit, since the content from Toby ended with the game. So it really was a fan-run fandom in 2015 to about present day, other than the releases of Deltarune. Now, in a lot of fan-run communities, it goes pretty normal, and with Undertale, it was the perfect amount of weird to keep me enthralled with it as a person who was 12 when it came out. Now, some of that included a popular bit of fan media, such as webcomics, fanfiction, fan-made lyrics to songs, and songs from the game, as well as just fan songs. All of these we will cover later on, but the biggest of all these fan medias was Undertale AUs. AUs reference alternative universes in the Undertale worlds, where a lot of them stemmed from the most famous character from the games, Sans. Entire universes surrounded just his character. Things like Ink and Error Sans became the center of webcomics, and then a lot of comics began being dubbed by voice actors in the fandom, which caused it to grow further and further. Undertale AU's demand grew more and more with the releases of this as well. That's kind of where the bad part began, with Sanscest, meaning shipping an AU Sans with another AU Sans, or an AU Sans with Sans Classic, which is just Sans from the game. Back then, I kind of found it funny and did it myself, kind of as a joke, but looking back at it, it was a little strange, kind of like how Tumblr was with the Onceler. Now from this spread the weird fan art that every fandom gets. You know what kind I'm talking about. The fan comics also got really good, stemming from all these fan-made characters. People began releasing fan-made games from all, and with that came fan-made soundtracks. Undertale was one of the big ones with that. It's an AU where all the characters in Undertale are evil, and the only good one is Flowey, which is a super cool concept, and their version of Megalovania is one of my personal favorites. But out of all of them, my personal favorite of the soundtracks created was Outer Tale. Outer Tale is a space AU, which is a really cool concept, and the soundtrack has a real spacey vibe to it, and it's a really cool take on Undertale's OST. Now, like every other fandom where there were weirdos who were making AUs as well, this is where things like Undertale, spelled T-A-I-L, came from, do not look that up, and Underlust, which is where Lust Sans was weirdly a popular character amongst AU people. Also, don't look into that one. A lot of people in these eras were kind of gooners in this fandom, I guess, which it did lead to a weird type of Skelebros headcanon from all these people involved. And it kind of involved glow sticks, is the way that they referred to them at the time. Now, getting towards the webcomics of the AUs, some of the biggest ones were incredible. I remember one of my favorites was Handplates. This was created by Zarla on DeviantArt, which explores the Gaster character in the lore of Sands of Papyrus, since the game says the pair just showed up one day and no one knows where they came from. Handplates was a really good webcomic, so I suggest if you haven't read it, go give it a read. I'll link it down in the description, as well as possibly a dubbed version. A big AU centering the webcomics was an AU itself. Now, it was a little thing called Paper Jam's Daycare, and it was on Tumblr, which the whole thing of this one is actually, really gross and problematic when you really come to think about the characters in it. The character Paper Jam, which is kind of a sans, but is also the product of two sans, or kind of like the child of AU Sans Inc. and Error. I mentioned it got weird in this fandom. And magically, all the other AU Sanses became children. And other than him and a few others, they take care of all these AU Sanses. I do not recommend you check this one out, as there are some super weird things, and just honestly a lot of trigger warnings that come with it. Since PJ in the extended universe is usually shipped with Fresh Sans, who's essentially the Dippy Fresh of Undertale if you've watched Gravity Falls, it was a little odd, their dynamic. And the creator of this comic really shipped them. So there was Fresh, who is like 4 in the comic, and then there are some really weird moments with PJ. You know, an adult and a child. Weirdly, there was a lot of bro-shipping in Undertale fandom. Specifically, Frisk, the main character of the original game, and Sans the Skeleton. There were some webcomics for that as well, but we're gonna kind of pivot away from all that. Filth in this fandom is something that is just crazy to look back and think about, especially because of how common some of it was amongst the circles I was a part of. Pivoting to something a little more positive but cringy is there's a Christmas Party AU, where just a bunch of Sanses get together for an AU Sans Christmas party. Now this was a webcomic that was never finished, but I know people who watch it every year around Christmas time. It came out on Christmas Eve of 2015 and was published by Tumblr user The Crayon Queen. People still really like this comic, and with the current resurgence of Undertale, fans are going back to the video. It's cute, but that is through the very heavy nostalgic glasses I'm wearing. I'm sure to anyone who's new to the fandom, they may find it cringy, but remember, it really was all we had back in the heyday of this fandom. I'll link the dub I used to watch down below, or you can just go look it up on Tumblr. Both versions of it are really good, it's just the dub does give it kind of separate and different voices. The comments on the video from the past few days are actually also really funny, so we will be inserting a few of them on screen. Fanfiction was another major part of this fandom, like it is for just about every other. There wasn't much of this that I didn't read as a joke. At one point I did write some, but it was with a friend, and it, again, was quickly abandoned because of just how weird it could get. Now there was the normal kind of fanfictions you'll get from hormonal teens within this. I will not deny that I would read it, but I will quickly defend myself in saying it was usually a joke and with others. Which, there's weirdly a funny thing that comes with that. I met one of the authors of one of the ones I've read with a friend in college. I was in a club meeting talking about Undertale, and I genuinely got to see the color drain from their face. They're super cool. I'm not gonna link that weird shit here, and I do not want to expose this person who has a real job now for the sins of their teenage self, since it was a very odd fanfiction. The songs were another big part of it. Stronger Than You by far was the biggest song that came out from everything, mostly due to its different perspectives, the perspectives of Sans, Frisk, and Kara. Now, as you know, Stronger Than You comes from Steven Universe, but it became so widely popular in Undertale, there were genuine fandom wars about who the song really belonged to, which I witnessed all of these since I liked both Undertale and Steven Universe. Weird time to be a part of the fandom, not gonna lie. But a lot of the creators would add lyrics to existing songs, or just make whole new songs for it. Creators like Tryhard Ninja, who sings Fallen Kingdom, Revenge, all those Minecraft parodies, made a whole album of original songs for Undertale, which I loved. There was also Hard Drive by Griffinella, who now goes by Fandroid Music, which was about the character Metaton. Plenty of this music kept the fandom alive, and there's still things that I have on my personal playlist to this day. And the biggest meme song to kind of come out of it all was sadly Story of Undertale. Now, To the Bone was a pretty big meme on TikTok for a little bit in about 2019, but the biggest joke by far when it comes to songs other than Megalovania is Story of Undertale by El Hugeni, who made plenty of weird songs, and after all these years I still don't really know how to pronounce his name. So yeah, the Undertale fandom was super weird to be a part of, especially during my formative years, but I have made so many friends through it, and it's a game that I deeply and genuinely love and just enjoy. I hope all of you enjoyed this ride. It was just this little mini essay. Now, Undertale fandom is where this is going to start, as I mentioned. Look forward to more content kinda like this coming up soon. Feel free to comment on this, I respond to all of them. And if you like it and feel like it, subscribe. I'm Greg, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!